George Clarence "Bugs" Moran was an American Chicago Prohibition-era gangster. He was incarcerated 3 times before his 21st birthday. 7 members of his gang were gunned down and killed in a warehouse in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre of February 14, 1929, supposedly on the orders of his rival Al Capone. Prohibition was established in 1920 with the enactment of the 18th Amendment, which banned the distribution of alcoholic beverages, resulting in bootlegging. Among the involved gangs were Dean O'Banion and his mostly Irish group, including Bugs Moran, who became known as the North Side Gang, and Al Capone as the leader of the Italian mob on the South Side. These 2 rivals fought violently, resulting in what is known as the Bootleg Battle of the Marne. The bootlegging operation of Himmy Weiss and Bugs Moran continued to pose a significant challenge to Capone's South Side Gang. Moran and Capone then fought a turf war with each other that cost them both. Moran's hatred of Capone was apparent even to the public. Moran was disgusted that Capone engaged in prostitution. He would not engage in prostitution rings because of his Catholic religion. Johnny Torrio's gang killed Dean O'Banion, and in an attempt to avenge him, Bugs Moran and Earl Himmy Weiss made an attempt on Torrio's life. Later they went on to make a failed attempt on Al Capone's life at his headquarters, the Hawthorne Inn in Cicero, Illinois. More than 1,000 shots were fired at the inn and at a nearby restaurant in their attempts to kill Capone. In retaliation, Weiss was killed by Capone's gang, and Moran became the new boss of the North Side Gang. According to Paul Maccabee, a historian of Twin Cities organized crime, Bugs Moran had a close friendship with St. Paul-based Irish mob boss Danny Hogan. Following Hogan's murder by car bomb on December 4, 1928, Bugs Moran personally stood guard outside the Hogan family residence at West 7th Street in St. Paul, apparently to protect the Hogan family from further underworld attacks. Responding to Weiss's death, Moran tried to kill a member of Capone's gang, resulting in an attack, allegedly by Capone, known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. On February 14, 1929, 7 members of Moran's gang died in what came to be called the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Moran was offered a truckload of whiskey at a bargain price, which he had ordered to be delivered at 10:30 a.m. to the garage of the SMC Cartage Company on North Clark Street, where he kept his bootlegging trucks. 2 gunmen, dressed as Chicago police officers, and 2 others in plain clothes, lined up Moran's people against the wall in the warehouse and shot them. Bugs Moran, the main target of the assassination, was not present, arriving late. When he saw the approaching police car, he turned around, going to a nearby cafe instead. Another North Sider, Al Weinshank, was misidentified as Moran by one of the lookouts who signaled for the attack to begin. Police response was delayed when witnesses saw the 2 police officers exit the scene. There were 6 corpses and another man near death when police arrived on the scene. The survivor, Frank Gussenberg, following the gangsters' code of silence, refused to identify the killers before dying. When Moran learned of the carnage, he broke the gangster code, accusing Capone of the murders. No one was convicted. Capone was in Florida on the day of the massacre. He denied involvement in the massacre, though he was twice summoned to court, which he avoided by claimed illness. There is some evidence implicating Chicago police officers in the killings. Prior to the massacre, some officers were stealing bootleg liquor from the gang's trucks and were allegedly disciplined by the chief of police, but no substantiation is available. Moran managed to keep control of his territory and what remained of his gang through the early 1930s, but the North Side Gang never fully recovered its power or former place in Chicago's underworld as the chief rival to Capone's Italian mob. Moran eventually left the area, quitting the gang entirely, though not the criminal lifestyle. He reverted to committing petty crimes, such as mail fraud and robbery. On April 30, 1939, Moran was convicted of conspiracy to cash $62,000 worth of American Express checks. He was freed on appeal when he posted a bond. He fled but was captured and not released until December 21, 1944. He was almost penniless by the 1940s, only 17 years after being one of the richest gangsters in Chicago. On July 6, 1946, he was arrested for his involvement in the robbery of a Dayton, Ohio, tavern on June 28, 1945, and received a sentence of 20 years. He was paroled in 1956. but was immediately arrested for his role in the 1945 robbery of a bank in Ansonia, Ohio. He was found guilty in 1957 and sentenced to 10 more years in prison. Moran died of lung cancer a few months into his 10-year sentence at Leavenworth Federal Prison in Kansas on February 25, 1957, at the age of 63.